Dear Heavenly Father, come before you humbly this evening and thankful for all the blessings. The gorgeous weather you provide us today and what is Washington County, one of the most beautiful places on earth. As we gather here to look at the finances of our county, please empower us with the knowledge and the wisdom to ascertain the right direction to move forward, dear Lord. Guide us, direct us, and everything we do will honor you, dear Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Let us honor America. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What about sweets?
Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Tucker,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Fitzgerald,
Here.
Edens, Davenport,
Here.
Matherly,
Here.
England, Malone,
Present.
Williams, Tamita, Jones. Here. Wexler,
Here.
Huffon,
Here.
Wheeler,
Here.
Carter. 12 present, 3 absent.
12 present, 3 absent. We have a quorum. We just a minute before we get our discussion manager back up.
Yeah. Yep.
If you would, please go ahead and indicate your presence here this evening on the roll call screen as well.
That's everybody.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Our next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We have a motion to approve the agenda. Motion made by Commissioner Carter, and a second by Commissioner Fitzgerald to approve the agenda. All in favor of approving the agenda, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion passes, the agenda is approved. Next item is our public comment period. You can't hear me, sir. I'm sorry. Am I not?
You could use your mic, please.
Yeah, use your microphone close.
I am using out. They'll have to turn the speaker up. Now that may be too loud, but we can go with it. Okay. All right, that's good.
Good.
Always looking up to people about.
A lot of people fuss that it's too loud, you know, so it's a little sensitive. It's kind of like me, you know, it's a little sensitive. But we'll turn it down if it gets too loud, just let me know.
Okay.
All right, next item is our public comment period. Tonight, we are in a special session, one of three sessions, this is 2 of 3 sessions that the Rules Committee several years ago put in place to consider the official budgets. This being a special call session, we can't add anything to the agenda. And we are very limited in what we can discuss, only these items that appear on the agenda. Like the public comment period, it's restricted to only things that appear on the agenda.
Your Honor, did we say prior, didn't legal to say prior before you started speaking? I just wanted to know if it's legal to say prior before me. Did you?
Yes, that's what we normally do.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, is there any further questions before we get started? All right, seeing none, we'll go right back into the discussion of our meeting rules. So it is very limited what the public comment can be. Those items have to appear on the agenda. The things that appear on the agenda this evening are the budgets of some elected officials. And we're here to hear the list of their budgets. We've had about 8 people sign up and, to speak about the tax rate. That wouldn't fall under this agenda this evening. However, without objection from the commission, I'm going to allow those 8 people to speak. So seeing no objection from the commission, when I call your name, you'll have 3 minutes. You'll come to the podium, give your name and address to the clerk. And if you go over 3 minutes, I'll indicate to you that your 3 minutes has expired. The first person is Joy Ayers. Joy, you'll come forward, please.
Can you hear me?
Let me make sure that's on for you, Joy. Now, I don't know if yours
Hello?
is.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, everybody can hear me, right? Joy Ayers, 111 Short Lane, Jonesboro. Hi, everyone. I'm back. Okay, remember, the tax rate is affected by the budget, and the budget is affected by the tax rate, so it is relevant, so I appreciate you letting us speak about that. We all know that our homes have doubled in appraisal, we all know that. And with that comes homeowner increase rates. And we understand that there is a reason to raise taxes in a reasonable amount. We do understand that. When I was looking at this, I know our tax rate is $2.15 according to the formula of the assessed value of our homes and lands. And then I was reading that the certified tax rate, but I guess it's just on paper, is $1.50. And I was looking at all that and doing all the math and everything, and it's still a reasonable amount that would increase because, and Washington County would get revenue from that still. But it would be reasonable because our appraisal is so much higher. So it's still gonna be increased for us, but it's not gonna be so overwhelming and burdensome for the people. I know that sometimes there's an erroneous assumption maybe by some that have moved into the area, that everybody's well off and able to shoulder an excess burden for the tax rate increase. Maybe for some, this is true. I think that is true. But I know for us personally and others whom I've spoken with, any increased tax rate would be burdensome, especially if it's doubled, especially with the appraisal being doubled. For example, for us, we have not received any COLA, that's cost of living adjustment, in our retirement pay since 2012. And we are a single income family. We live off of one income. I was looking at some of the needs of the Department of Education budget. Maybe that needs to be looked at more closely. So as a scale back, maybe on unnecessary expenses, maybe possibly their rates in pay, I don't know, but I implore you once again, as I did before, to consider the needs of the people here and to listen to their concerns if you are to consider any tax rate increases, especially if there's no extra services included. People are struggling with higher expenses in every area of their lives now, so the tax rate of even the $1.50, because our appraisals are so high, would still reap an increase in revenue for Washington County. There is quite a bit of excess spending, in my opinion, and overdevelopment going on here. There's a concern with that, and I've been concerned with that for a while. This area is losing its charm with country living, just as the older gentleman lamented on Monday night's commissioners meeting concerning the property his father gave to the church, which wanted rezoning for another Dollar General to be built. It was as if he was not heard, and once again, more land rezoned for more building. And I understand you're not building, it's not your responsibility to build there. You don't make those decisions, but you're rezoning. So if you're rezoning, then you can build these commercial things again. When there's more development, there's more people, there's more problems.
Ms. Ayers, let me remind you of our special agenda.
Okay,
You have to stay within the guidelines of that, of a budget. We can't really
Okay.
jump into rezoning.
all right, I'll give
So,
you, I'll give
most-
you for things and I'm done.
We just kind of need to ease off
Okay.
rezoning a little bit.
I just want you to keep the charm of country living. But one example of scaling back, okay, I'm asking, please consider some things in the budget that can be readdressed, that would be within the budget, right? Or what our agenda is. And scale back on in relation to expenses and overdevelopment before you consider raising the tax rate so high that it is such a burden to the people. Consider scaling back. One example of scaling back, which is really easy in my opinion, on Monday night, the camera system, it was $16,000. That could have gone to the Department of Education's needs maybe. I just want you to think about what can be looked at in the budget to scale back so that your tax rate increase is reasonable for the people. Because the people want, we understand, and we're not here to make problems, and we understand there's increases everywhere. But I'm speaking from my heart for the people that it would be burdensome if you were to raise that unreasonably high. Okay, so that's basically what I want to say is just consider, my biggest point is to consider things on the budget that maybe you can scale back on and maybe think about overdevelopment and overspending. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, David Smith. He's got the podium, please. Please name and address. Clerk.
He might not have heard me.
David Smith, you'll come forward to the podium. Give your address to the clerk, please.
Yes, sir. My name is David Smith. I live at 204 Huffman Hollow Road. Thank you for giving me session to discuss the tax rate.
Sir.
As it does pertain to everybody's budget. Without taxes that y'all collect, there is no budget. I understand that taxes are a necessary evil. You know, it supports local law enforcement, fire departments, development. In the way of life that everybody is accustomed to, you have to have taxes collected to give people that form of life. But it has to be fair to the people that have basically entrusted you guys with so much of our home. You know, y'all are the ones that make the decisions of how the money that we give is going to be spent. What's going to happen in our local communities, and people entrust you guys to do that. And Washington County, Tennessee is probably one of the best places I've been. Y'all have done a great job. Congratulations. I mean, it's nice to be all over the country. But with deal on the property tax, you know, I understand there's going to be an increase. My property alone increased almost 92% in the latest appraisal. I don't know anything in life, stocks, bonds, nobody's 401k has increased 91%. And I understand that everybody has to pay more. Y'all have to pay more to get stuff done around. I know it costs more money, but everybody is hit like that. At the current tax rate, my extra taxes from what I had to just write a check for, my next check will be somewhere around $7,500 more than my last check that I wrote. From around $8,250 to somewhere around $15,500 in my property tax. Now, when people look at a tax assessment, you might accumulate that with how wealthy a person is. You forget about inherited property. Things like that's been passed down from generation to generation. There's no way that, on what I make, I could go out and buy a $3 million piece of land. No way possible. But that's what I'm having to pay taxes on, because I inherited the property from my mom in 2004. At the current tax rate. I understand raising, but this is unfair. And I am the last address in Washington County. If anybody knows the area, which y'all should, if you turn by Rocky Mount and go down by the lake and take a left onto Huffman Hollow, I am the last address on in Washington County. I get no city water or county water. I don't have the option of that. I don't have the option of sewage hookup.
Mr. Smith, you reached your time. We thank you for coming.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
You too. The next speaker is Martin Harris. Martin, you come to say your name. Martin Harris, you'll come to the podium, please. Martin Harris. Martin, if you'll give your address to the clerk, she'll take that for you.
My name is Martin Harris, and forgive, but things happen. And the address is 140 New Street, which is about as new as I am. And two areas that I would like to bring to people's attention, because they cannot possibly be studied in detail in a meeting like this, but they should be put into consideration and given due thought in the whole tax process. The first thing is a little history of, I'm not from Colorado, I come from New England, but about a dozen years ago, the state of Colorado invented the phrases tax plus tax minus, which refers to that part of the population which pays taxes in excess of what they demand in services, because they're good people and they obey the law and they don't hang out on street corners and they don't shoplift and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera. And then there's the other sector, which the less said here, the better. And Colorado tried to put something in the tax bill. You're probably aware of the arguments in the U.S. Congress getting rid of income tax, that everybody should pay a higher sales tax so that you pay tax on what you actually purchase for goods and services. And the city of Denver, which dominates the politics of the state, like Chicago does, and you know what Chicago does in Illinois. That's typical. And what Memphis tries to say is that, and succeeds occasionally. So they tried to put something in to reflect the tax process in the situation, particularly for people who paid the school taxes on their kids never broke windows and all the rest of it, and now they should be entitled to some consideration. Now, one place that you find that is in a new phenomenon that we have, the inflation caused by the Federal Reserve, because nobody else can do it. When the Fed started out 1913, 1914 to today, today's dollar has the purchasing power of an 1813 nickel. These stats are anywhere you can look them up and find them. But the point is that the Fed has not done the job it was exactly created to do, which is keep the currency regular. It states in the Constitution. I'm suggesting that when so much of this increase.
Mr. Harris, you've reached your time. I appreciate you coming.
The amounts are partially inflation free, and that's my point.
Yes. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you coming.
Go on. Go on. Go on.
I'm Greg.
Go on. Could this be recorded, passed out to people like they want to do?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Everything we do here is on YouTube. Yes, sir. Forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. Is it Jane Kirkpatrick?
Yeah.
Ann Friday. I thought it was Ann, but no, you have to use your time.
Not allowed to give it to someone.
No, 3 minutes.
When's the next community meeting, sir?
She has the floor right now. Don't interrupt anybody when they're coming up here to speak. Okay, don't interrupt our process of government. We want to caution you on that because it's significant that everybody's here for a reason. We appreciate y'all being here. So please don't interrupt the governmental process.
Hi, I'm Ann Kirkpatrick. I live at 3732 Kimrock Drive in Johnson City. And I'm not going to say a whole lot tonight, but I feel that taxes are already, you know, it's great we don't pay income tax, but we do have a very high sales tax. And we have to pay tax on food, which we don't have to do in other states. And this morning at this school meeting, they were talking about the budget and how higher taxes would help give more money to the teachers' salaries. Well, you know, my salary is less than what the teachers make. And so if you're gonna take money from me to make their salary higher, you know, that doesn't seem right to me. And I do think that costs could be cut in a lot of areas and maybe really concentrate on cutting costs before they raise the taxes, just like the first speaker was saying today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Joshua Clark. Joshua, give you your address to Clark.
My name is Joshua Clark. I live at 183 Old State Route 34 here in Jonesboro. So I'm not a property owner yet, but this will affect my rent as it gets passed on, and I am looking at properties in the county. So you all have known that the backlash to this reassessment of property and any potential tax increase was going to be coming for quite a while. Because I know the assessor of property had been coming around to some of the political meetings earlier this year, trying to warn everyone that there was going to be an average of 70% increase in people's taxes. So for those who are in that zone, they're actually doing pretty well. It was interesting because he also was saying that for those who are in some of the higher end properties over in the Ridges or other places, for example, they were gonna see about a 300% increase. Interestingly, also, the folks at the lowest end in this county, we're gonna be seeing a 300% increase in the property taxes because of the inflation of values here. I know that land values have been going up all over the country. They've especially been going up here with the influx of people that have moved here because it's a great place to live. But we're all suffering from the inflation biting into our wallets. A lot of us haven't gotten cost of living raises for a couple of years in spite of all of this inflation. And we need to have the local government trim its budgets as much as the rest of us are having to do, not put a huge burden on us and force people to pay these ridiculous rates. So we need you all to look to cut spending. And if these assessments are going to go in, y'all need to be looking at cutting the rates on the property taxes, not raising them. I know it's a big ask, but it's what y'all are going to need to do, or you're going to be really hurting lots of people all over this county. Thank you.
Will Clark.
My name is Will Clark. I live at 290 Upper Sand Valley Road. And at the risk of echoing some of our earlier speakers, I just wanted to point out that we've all seen the inflationary increases since 2020, since the pandemic. We've seen them as a result of ever increasingly bad fiscal policy. And there's no signs of that slowing down at the national or state level. We look to our local leaders to help stop, staunch the tide, staunch the bleeding of bad fiscal policy, and actually take the fact into consideration that the common man who pays the taxes, which includes you, we don't get to dictate or assess more income. We are fixed and we are at the whim of our employers or whatever we can kill and bring in the door if we are a business owner. The answer to bad monetary policy is not more bad monetary policy. The answer to high taxes is not more high taxes. Fact of the matter is, my home property, I was like lucky. My home property assessment went up 70%. I can guarantee you, 4 years that I've owned my house has not increased 70% value. If it had, I could have cashed out on that. Fact of the matter is, inflation is hurting everyone. We understand the pressure you're under. Just like we would have to respond to an inflationary increase by trimming our budgets, that needs to be the first and the much greater reaction of the commission and the county before they raise rates. And if you're going to raise rates for property taxes, you need to make sure that you show the people of the county how much you are trimming the budget in relation to the proportionate increase in taxes. Thank you.
Jim Clark.
My name is Jim Clark. I live at 310 Cherry Hill Road, Limestone, Tennessee. If you look at this group of individuals here that have come out this evening, every one of them has suffered because of inflation. And you are afflicting every one of these people by jacking up the property assessments and by jacking up the tax rate. Every one of these people suffers whenever they go to the gas station. Everyone suffers whenever they go to buy food. Their water utilities have gone up. It's about time you all show some physical responsibility. Because of the pain and suffering that you are afflicting the people of Washington County with. Did your taxes go down? No. Many of us are on fixed income because we're retired. Many of us tax rate, our assessment doubled. And then you all jack up the rate on top of that? Where's your compassion? You don't have any. You don't have any compassion. There's no milk of human kindness in this group who saddle the people of Washington County that are suffering, hurting, with doubling their assessments and with increasing the tax burden. We certainly don't get any adjustment that would offset any of this for anybody with our tax rates from Washington. Think about it. Your parents tried to endow you with more than they had. Most of you that have children want to give them more than what you had. You need to think about that. We need some tax relief from you all. You have increased assessments on our property, and now you're gouging us with higher tax rates.
Mr. Clark, I'm sorry, your time's expired.
Thanks, sir. Next speaker is John Boyd. John?
My name is John Boyd. I live at 1605 Baxter Street, Johnson City. Ladies and gentlemen, the point I would like to convey most of all, understand the tax formula of the county. Now, just because you can does not mean you should. We can endure incremental increases as we have in our past. But to do this under the current unique circumstances that are presented to you, I would hope you would reconsider this. The people that have retired here, that have worked here all their lives on the low wages of Tennessee, and they are on fixed incomes now, they're the ones that's going to suffer the most under this. Now, what separated Tennessee from the rest of the country was our low taxes, low cost of living. If we're going to go into lockstep with the rest of the country, there will no longer be anything unique about Tennessee. If you see this as an opportunity and seize it, it's almost like Pavlov's response, the drilling to get this huge chunk of revenue. In the end, it will be considered a land grab, because you will price people out of their homes that are from here all their lives.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
That will conclude our public comment this evening. We'll go ahead and close that. One good thing is, and I want to thank him very much, our assessor is here this evening, property tax assessor, and he said if anyone would like to take a moment to meet with him and that has specific questions, the courtroom next door, he would be glad to do that and talk to anybody who would like to do that. So thank you, Robbie, for having that opportunity here. But he'll be next door for just a minute if you'd like to visit with him and had any specific questions for him. We'll move right into our agenda for this evening. Our whole business, we have none to report. Our first item under new business this evening is discussion of our upcoming fiscal year budget with limitations to solely budget items, including but not limited to the following presentations. So that would be our first presenter this evening is Sheriff Sexton. Sheriff, we appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah, where you going?
So y'all are welcome to stay. I mean, you're welcome to stay for the budget presentations. If you do have any questions, he's available tonight to answer them.
They can come back.
Yeah.
Hurt my feelings, everybody left.
You scared them all?
According to the county attorney, I'm a mean old guy. We'll try to make this as painful as possible. The PowerPoint you'll see and the handout that I gave you pretty much goes line by line. I sent you by email the overview of the budget. Overall, my big ask is for more people and a $1 an hour raise for the employees, which we're hiring, by the way, if anybody's needing a job out there. So if you look at the first part there, the courtroom security, if you'll at the next slide. We now have 8 judges and 7 courtrooms. Sometimes the judges have to trade out courtrooms. We run 2 metal detectors downstairs, and we have an officer at the courthouse in Jonesboro. So one of the things that gets neglected, as the sheriff, you really run 3 departments. You run the court systems, which by TCA you're required to do, and that includes serving civil process. And civil process, arrest warrants sometimes get neglected when you don't have enough people, and that's why I'm asking for 4 more deputies in the courtroom security. Not only will it be for courtroom security, it will be to try to cut down our civil process and arrest warrants that we have on file. Every arrest warrant has a victim connected to it that's waiting to see justice. I tried to, anything that I thought was a big number, I tried to put in red there. So if you don't have any questions about the courtroom, if you look at the sheriff's office part, that 800,000, that is salaries that for the SROs, and I'm going to talk about the SRO grant and the SRO money because there's a lot of confusion out there and I get a lot of questions. So I'm going to just lay it out there. So we go to the next slide unless somebody has a question about something so far. Okay. So school resource officer budget. The state sent out last year, they sent out an SRO grant that requires an MOU to be signed between the sheriff and the director of the schools for the money to be received. And currently we have 15 school resource officers that are assigned and paid for out of the sheriff's office operation budget. There's a pass-through grant that comes from the school that gives the sheriff's office $90,000. which is required by them to receive the grant. That's my understanding of it. The SRO grant money is restricted for SRO use only. And in 2023, we received $975,000 through that grant. But because of the way it was set up, we were only allowed to use 73,000 of that. And I want to see if the ladies here, the flock cameras, the excess money to pay for those flock cameras was part of that 73,000, the grant, and then the other was from budget savings. So that was money that was already budgeted. It wasn't on top of anything, but it was in resolution 240213. But we have 13 schools, and if you get 13 times $75,000, because that's the way the grant is set up, $75,000 per school, that comes out to $975,000. Now, the total cost to the sheriff's operating budget for 15 SROs is nearly $1.2 million. That's 15 officers, their wages and benefits. So and as you see, 975 through the grant. So as I asked for the raise and for more people, if that money was applied to the sheriff's budget, I would only have to come and ask for $208,000, not $1.2 million. So please keep that in consideration as we go through this. Do you understand what I've said so far? Okay. Because people get confused about that, and it being the first year, it's obvious, there's always going to be some confusion. We haven't received anything in writing, but we have received, in talking with the state, that grant will be available again this year. Next slide, please. So you can look down through there, and there's the totals. The first big total you come to, that 53,396, that's a software update we don't really have control over. The first two arrows there, the red, those are for travel and registration. People see that sheriff travel and think, well, the sheriff must go on a lot of vacations. Trust me, it's not that way. That money is to be used for specialized training, for academy, when we send people to the academy, for when we send them to recertification training. We did secure a $20,000 state reimbursement grant approved through the state to reimburse us for our academy costs, and that was approved by resolution 240410. The rest is pretty low. One thing we did take a hit on, this coming year, we're going to have to pay for 40 ballistic vests that are expiring in the FY 24-25 time period. Before that, we had a violent crime grant that would pay for a big chunk of our vests. But this year, that's not the case. We're not going to be getting that money. So that comes out to that 46,960. The $20,000 you see there extra, that's for vehicle supplies. We got to have guys on patrol in safe vehicles. We still have a lot of Crown Vics that we keep in service. We have a good fleet maintenance crew. We brought parts from the old ones, but they're dying off slowly. So, any questions on that? Next slide. Still looking into the big number there, the 714,196. That's for the cost to replace the annual replacement patrol cars. And if you were to give me the 8 new positions, if you remember last year I asked for 8, you gave me 4, and we have absolutely put in work, and we have the stats to show it. The good thing about the vehicles is we do have some revenue accounts, and we'll get into that later in this presentation, where we can offset some of the costs there. I just wanted to note also, I talked about the garage, the sheriff's garage. We actually also service 25 extra vehicles from other county offices that comes, if it's an oil change, they usually show up with their oil and their filter and we change it, but it's still man hours that comes out of the sheriff's budget. Any question on that? So if we look at the bottom part, we're getting into the detention center now.
And as I said, the great majority of the ask that we have is for the $1 an hour increase. And you'll see those numbers go up. Next slide. And you have the same thing on the jail side. The travel and registration increases with the recertification and specialized training costs. The thing that's unique about the sheriff's office, if you don't know, we have 276 employees, and I do realize that half the county budget is the sheriff's office. But we've got to have public safety. People are pouring into this area. And just like you've heard here, people want to live here. It's a great place to live. But with more people, more buildings, more businesses, you got to have somebody to be able to protect that. So those, the red arrow is for the increases in training. Any questions on any of that? I would like for you to note, because I kind of took a little criticism, and you've heard me talk about it before, on the e-cigarette program for the inmates. And I'll tell you, I've told you all this before, and I'll tell anybody that asks. I believe that we should do everything we can do to recoup money back to the taxpayer from inmate labor, whatever we have to. The commissary, we've renegotiated their commissary contracts so the county receives more money now. The state and federal contracts have been reconfigured. We get more money now. The e-cigarettes, there's always the argument, well, you're feeding an addictive habit. Well, I've said this before here. We have people every day that order honey bun out of the commissary because they're diabetic. So at the end of the day, it's a revenue account, and it's in high demand, and it helps us have a calmer jail, so to speak. It makes inmates feel like they matter, and they do matter. They're human beings. But at the same time, being able to have inmates that are behaving, so to speak. You know, just yesterday we had a female inmate try to kill one of my detention officers, wrapped her radio cord around her neck and was strangling her. The 2 weeks prior to that, it was a male inmate breaking one of the officer's noses. So it's a jail. There's violent people there. There's bad situations, but the great majority, I believe, are people who have made bad mistakes and they were caught, and we should not throw them away in society. And when you start saying, well, throw them in jail and feed them bread and water, well, guess what? That costs a lot of money, and you pay for it. The other thing is, recently, you know, we secured you gave us some of the opioid abatement money to start to get a really robust mental health program, and we're excited about that. I think it's going to help tremendously, but at the end of the day, the emphasis there is to get these people, because a lot of the times when they come to jail, it's the only time they're clean and sober. We can get them into some programs, get them some resources, and get them into behavioral health programs to where that they don't keep coming back to jail. The recidivism we're doing, for my entire career, there's been very little done, and that's going on 34 years now, to cut down on the number of people that we bring back to jail. I've seen 3 decades of just throwing people in jail, and you ask any officer out here, there's people here that I've arrested, their grandfather, the father, and now the grandson. So we got to do something, but I'm very appreciative of that. But at the same time, you also gave the employees a raise last year. Well, that has helped to keep us in line with the competitiveness of law enforcement. As you can imagine, a lot of people want to do the job, but we can't get behind. So, any questions on that? Let's go to the next slide. Yes, sir.
Got the expenditure on this, what the revenue is greatly in excess of that.
In excess of that? Right now, Sarah, what was the revenue? It's coming up. I'm sorry. I think right now we're sitting on about 85,000 in profit off of that. You're talking about 4 months. So, it's coming up. So Any questions on this part here? That's at the end of the day, you can see the numbers there. And the greatest part of the budget increase is for the raise and additional officers. There's not a lot of fluff in this budget. Next slide. So I went ahead and put this in there, or had Sarah do it, trust me. She's the brains behind the operation. That's what, you know, I try to be a sheriff, not an accountant. But at the same time, you'll see right there, the numbers for a 5% increase. In the middle, you have a $1 increase and then a $2 increase, with the dollar increase being the cheapest of the three. Any questions on that one? Next slide, please. Here's what I'm concerned about. With everybody moving into the area, there's an increased demand for public safety. Costs for service continue to climb and have reached a point where even you'll hear that the 911 director is going to have to ask for additional dispatchers through a special appropriation. The demand is just there. And with the continued population growth in Washington County, it's reasonable to expect costs for service to increase. Next slide, please. So if you look at this map, this is new 911 addresses by fire district issued in Washington County in 2023 alone. In the county, there's 494 new addresses in just the county. But we as the sheriff's office, we have to provide services for countywide, city, county, Jonesboro, and that came out to 1,321 new 911 addresses in 2023 alone. So next slide, please. So here's another map. So I'm asking for 4 more deputies, because 4 deputies were added last year in 2023 to help cover the 494 new homes. We have 326.5 miles of territory to cover. And it's logical to believe that the number of residents associated with this number would be 2 to 3 times that number. So we're building these houses for somebody. Next slide, please. So lowest impact of the citizens, Washington County for law enforcement protection. This is what we believe to be the minimum requirements. The $1 an hour increase for the pay will be across the board. Salary increase for the employees. We have to remain competitive in the labor force, and to ensure the retention of trained employees. You know, that was one of the things that hurt us when the governor raised the pay for troopers. You saw local law enforcement go to be highway patrol officers. You saw local detention officers go to the Tennessee Department of Corrections. More money, more pay. So the big ask is in this budget is 4 fully trained patrol officers, and that's what those numbers represent. 4 detention officers and 4 for the court security and transport officers. Transports are another problem that we have, transporting from county to county, you know, maybe from Washington County to Memphis. It's more and more as we put more people in jail and they have charges in other counties. They have to be transported back and forth. Federal inmates the same way. And you may say, well, why do you feel that they deserve a raise? Well, in the sheriff's office, we have prerequisites that have to be met. No other department, and I'm not down in any other department. I think what they do, all county departments do a great job, and we all work together. But I'm here as the sheriff to tell you what I believe that we need. But it's hard to get people, and then you tell them that they have to pass a physical, then they have to pass a psychological, they have to pass a drug screen, and we do have general orders that require them to live above the standard of the average everyday person. And we have a lot of turnover. Now, I didn't get the percentages, but our turnover has greatly slowed down. We've raised the standard by getting our level 1 jail accreditation through the state. We are well on our way to receive the 2nd level of accreditation, which will bring, each one of those will bring $3 more per day per inmate, for a state inmate. And within the end of the year, we should receive accreditation approval from the state, which has never been done. We had our reaccreditation for the national level, but we applied through the state, and this will be the first time that we've had a state accreditation. So I say that to say this, the taxpayer money is going to be well spent. We want high quality professional officers. When I went around and I was running for sheriff, people told me they wanted to see law enforcement in this county, and that's all I can promise them because that's all I'm good at. And I think I can show you the numbers that we've produced. So we're doing our best to keep the jail count low. We've traded out some federal inmates, some state inmates. I've said this before in front of the commission, I do not want to be in the situation where we have to build a new jail. Sullivan County just did it. It's well over $100 million. While I'm sheriff, I'm making a commitment that I never have to come to you and say that, because at the end of the day, it's not between the sheriff and the state, it's between the county legislative body and the state when it comes to that. So we're doing everything we can do to make the jail self-sufficient as possible, to keep the trouble down, so to speak, to keep officers on patrol, and to keep the county safe. Next slide. This is a look at our revenue accounts. Next slide, please. I just wanted you to see, because that we do have these accounts. If there's something that we can do to offset, we have an asset forfeiture account that has the 14,395 military surplus. We have a military surplus program where we get equipment from the military. After a designated period of time by the military, we can turn around and sell that money, and the profits go into the general fund. And of course, we have the drug fund, and we're doing everything we can do to make that one grow. Then you're looking at the revenue accounts within the commissary income for that. I asked for the numbers from January to March. It's 39,000. The e-cigarettes, there's the number. January through March, it's 143,847. But there's an expense of 58,414 to buy them. But then we net 85,000. That's a pretty good turnaround. The state board bill, the money that we receive for housing state inmates, that is fiscal year. We're pushing near $1 million, and by the July we'll be over $1 million.
How's that compared to
I actually think that's a little bit higher, is it not? Yes. The federal board bill, as of March, is 1.5, and that's an increase of 378,000 over the same time last year. Now, I will tell you that I have had some federal inmates taken out of our jail just because of the overcrowding that was occurring. It's hard for TCI to come in and say, "Hey, Sheriff, you're going to have to build the jail." That's the first time I ever talked to them. That's what they said. And I was like, "No, we won't." And we start arguing, and they say, "Well, you're going to have to do something. You've got almost 100 federal inmates. Why don't you get rid of them?" So we got rid of several of those, but we also got to looking at the state once they made they brought it to our attention. And I don't even know if they really realize this, but there's a Tennessee law that says once a state inmate is sentenced, they have to take them into the state prisons. They like to leave them in the county jails because we get them for about half price. You look on their website, they'll tell you it takes about $73 a day to house an inmate. They pay us $41 to $44 a day. So we were the economy in. So we called and told them and said, "Hey, take some of your state inmates out of our jail." And they weren't happy about it, but we sent them. Now, that's good and bad. Maybe we have less money coming in for federal inmates, but at the same time, food cost goes down, medical cost goes down. That's another thing I meant to go over. It's in your packet. Our medical costs it just keeps growing, and it's very frustrating for us. But the thing is, here in East Tennessee, we have a lot of inmates, and not only do we have a lot of inmates, but we have a lot of sick inmates.
Well, you're serving diabetics honey buns. I mean, sorry about that.
Commissioner Malone, that's their right. Okay. So,
And it's like.
But I agree with you.
County that pays their healthcare bill.
well, but here's what happens, is there's so many illicit drugs on the street, is they're on the illicit drug, and they don't know that they have the problems that they have until they come to jail and they get off that illicit drug, and then you figure out that this one's really sick, this one has cancer, this one has some kind of infection, and then we have to take care of it, and that costs a lot of money. So, we have a good jail staff now. Jail medical is just expensive. You talk across the state, they'll tell you that. And it's hard to find a private doctor that's willing to take on the liability and put in, or that can handle the pure amount of what they have to do. So I think that's the last slide. Is it the last slide?
That's 14 of 17.
Okay, give me the next one. Talking about capital budget requests. Yeah, I can't forget this one. Next slide, please. Most of this is pretty clear cut. The jail was built in 1995. We have some water lines that are in really rough shape. There's a couple of showers in one of the cells that we've actually had to just cut off because they built the shower lines and underneath a whole bunch of concrete, and we can get by with the number of showers we have without those, but to dig them up and fix them would be a lot of money. So we're going to hold off on that. But as buildings age, you have to put repairs into them. Another big cost is our security locks and the parts. Our locks are so old and have been used so much that through wear, inmates can open them with credit card, not a credit card, but some kind of card. They'll use anything they can slide in there. There's so much play within the locks now that we're going to have to replace them, and that's a very, very expensive project. You know, last year, we actually had a case where like 40 gang members busted out at one time, big fight within one of the cells, and that's what brought it to our attention. We're like, how in the world did this many people get out at one time? Well, they go to prisons and they learn how to be meaner, rougher criminals, and they bring all their tricks to the county jail, and that's what happened here. And then you get one that teaches everybody. So, but that's for the security locks and parts. That's where you see that. We spread that out over a request of 3 years. Next slide, please. The next slide here, the first thing you see there is the firing range. We're a sheriff's office that doesn't have a firing range. That was put in the budget in the 2023-24 budget. We are in negotiating with Johnson City for some property. I've secured some grading equipment, bulldozer and such through the military, ready to roll if we get the city to let us lease the property, and we'll have this range built really quickly if that goes through. And I feel pretty confident about it. Mayor's helping me on that one. Another reason that's going to be important, I know you've seen on the news that this teachers being armed. I don't know how that's going to go. That's going to be up to the school board and the director of schools to figure out before it becomes a situation that we'll have to handle. But it's hard to have a law enforcement agency and not have a firing range. We're required every year to requalify. The rest of those numbers, in-car cameras, they go bad. The body-worn cameras, same way. Another hit that we took, Taser. We're all about using anything that is non-lethal. Our Tasers are old and they will no longer certify them for use. If we send one back and they send it to us, they stamp it not for patrol use, so to speak. It used to be we could send it in and they'd send us one back. They're just, and I guess that's the way they make you buy the more current model. But that's going to be a pretty, as you can see, it's a $50,000 replacement cost. The Pharaoh scanner, that's for use on traffic fatalities or any kind of a criminal shooting, a homicide. It's a scanner that documents the scene in 3D. It's been proven to be a very effective tool in the prosecution of criminals. Pelico cameras, that's cameras inside the jail. We still have some jail cameras that need some upgrading. And then you have your basic everyday the computers and that kind of thing, that have to be replaced. Stuff just wears out. One more slide. Is that it? All right. Any questions? I'm sorry there's so many slides. I'm trying to go through them fast.
I have a couple, and I'll do the easy one first. And meanwhile, I'm not sure who's driving, if it's our county clerk. Would you go back about 8 slides maybe? First and foremost, thanks for what you and your team do. I know you run a tight ship, and I'm thankful, and I'm thankful that you work hard to keep Washington safe. The first question, an easy one, and it's perhaps as much for the mayor as you. Easy one. It's not a large expense, but when I was looking over the list, I saw pest control, and obviously a jail, the sheriff's department, you gotta have pest control. I'm just wondering, do we coordinate pest control across the county such that the same people that do the jail and the courthouse do the school system, et cetera? I just wonder if we could get a better contract if we looked at it on a global basis.
I have no idea if it's everybody that gets the same.
That's just an idea for the two of you, such that when those contracts are up, you might coordinate on a global basis. Go back 2 more, I think, if you will. I wanted to clarify to make sure I understood, and this is as much for the people behind you, but I do want to make sure I'm on the same page.
Okay.
When you look at the side, and it's hard for me to read that even with my readers on, but if I'm understanding correctly, the budget report, and this is really 3 areas, as you said, the sheriff's department, the jail, and courtroom or courthouse security.
Right.
Across those 3 areas, the increase from the current fiscal year to next fiscal year, the increase is almost 3.5 million.
Yes.
So for especially the folks in the back, I want you to understand the significance of that number because, and I don't question the need. You stood up here and worked to justify it. So I'm not questioning the need. But that number, 3.5 million, represents about 6% of the county's entire non-school budget for our current fiscal year. And so that is a significant increase. And that, again, I'm not suggesting it's not needed. But the challenge, obviously, for the commissioners and for the county as a whole is, how do we give the sheriff's department an extra 3.5 million without raising taxes or without taking that money from other departments? And then you're faced with the decision of, well, obviously, public safety is important and it's more important than this department or that department. So I'm just trying to point out the challenge that the county commission and the county as a whole faces in terms of the budget. And I think you probably know this, but when was it that Washington County last had a property tax?
I believe it's 2016, right?
It was 2016, 8 years ago. Think of the inflation we've had in 8 years with no tax increase. And so it is a challenge. And I know 3.5's the request.
I know it is a challenge, but you're also talking about the sheriff's office. We have more employees than the others combined. And at the same time, as the sheriff, it's my duty to come into the county legislative body and say, this is what I believe as sheriff we need to do to provide public safety to the community. And that's what I've done. Now, I can't control if you approve it or you don't approve it, or you know, and the prior 2 years I've worked and cut out of the budget, but at the same time, I try to justify with the slides and the number of people, and you can build the biggest schools you want, you can have all the infrastructure that you want, but if you don't have the public safety, you're wasting your money.
Understood.
And the county commission approved for, we got 4 officers last year, very grateful for that. 4 inside the jail, very grateful for that. And we put them to work. It's not like anybody's sitting around. You know, you could probably, and I encourage you to talk to the deputies. They probably get mad at me because I don't let anybody sit around and just waste their times. Now, I guess what I'm saying is I think I have, and I can show you if you don't believe me, I have given you the bang for the buck. And when I say you, I'm talking about a taxpayer too. So if that's not what is possible, okay. I'm not gonna get boo-boo lipped and go home, but when it takes 30 minutes for a deputy to get to your house, that's why it happens. On any given night, you're looking at, if we're lucky, 8 to 9 people are covering that 320 some miles. That's the truth. I'm proud of how we've spent our money. We have a savings of about 700,000, I believe. Is that right, Sarah? But we also have a comp time total because we've worked these employees so hard that's way up there. And I plan to take some of that surplus and pay down their comp time because that is a debt to the county. Every time one of those people leaves, we end up paying. We've paid people as high as $70,000 in time that was owed to them, and we're doing our best. We're hoping after this payment that we pay everybody down. We'll only have about 80 hours of comp time at the most. And that don't even touch the thousands of hours of vacation time.
Commissioner Wheeler?
I'm gonna ask a few more questions that are really making sure people understand.
Let me have it.
So, as Chair of Public Safety, I am want to make sure we all think about, we go through those pretty quick a lot of times, but a good portion of the ones that are coming from your department, whether we get grant money coming.
Yes.
Program where you have increased revenue and appreciate that. And the entire time you've been here, and even before that, since the last tax increase, people are talking about, taking expenses. That's been going on. That's why we haven't had a tax increase. It's like, we've had massive inflation recently, but we've had inflation, we've had cost increases the entire time. Been Sheriff, and appreciate how you handle those. The growth, this is the other thing, there seems to be a misunderstanding about that there'll be more taxes because of this. That's not true. We reset, as you know. Our natural growth last year with all the buildings was only 0.75%. So the one thing that didn't get covered in the questions that Mr. Malone was asking is the percentage increase this year in the expenses that you got is about 12.6%. I'm actually going to ask this for everybody that comes up tomorrow. Somebody else does about what percentage increase. Again, I especially inside all the public safety meetings understand the needs you got. So my question is more related to how we fund. I think we either have to fund. That's where it becomes our job, and I understand that.
Sure.
But the one thing I've seen a lot of comments on in the social media is, well, I hope it'll go to, talk about sheriff's department and fire. And I appreciate that and understand that. But there's going to have to be some sort of increase, likely, if we're going to be able to do what you're asking for, what fire is asking for. Very ones that people are defending, we've got to do something about it.
I can only tell you what I know from talking to people, and people tell me, Sheriff, as long as you're giving us more service, I don't care to have a tax increase. Nobody wants a large tax increase. I got hit with the property tax too. But anybody that, if you think about it, it's not Robbie McGuire's fault. It's no one person's fault. A tax increase for services, as long as the services are there, I don't think most people have a problem with that. As long as it's not outrageous. And I understand, people said, what are you doing, Sheriff? This is not the year to go in there and say any raise, but I can't ask these people to go and risk their lives every day and expect to retain them. And for them not to make what they're making, they could leave tomorrow and go to another department. And we've invested all this time and money in them. And, we get a lot of service out of these deputies. They work 12-hour shifts. They risk their lives every single day. You know, and I'm pleased, I hope the other departments don't get mad at me. But at the same time, if anybody from another department or anywhere else in the county, if you can say that you've had feces thrown on you in the last 24 hours, stand up. If you've been assaulted, let me know about it. I mean, that's what these guys face every day when they leave here tonight, somebody may try to kill them just for wearing a uniform. So I can't not come in here and as a leader and say, I'm not gonna ask for a raise for them. Now, they know that times are hard, and I think the great majority of them understand it either way. But I have to ask, and it's just like you said, it's not for me. It's not for me to figure out. It's for me to tell you what I feel like we need to keep the county safe.
What are you hearing from other, maybe a little early to be hearing from other departments, whether it be county or municipal, about raises this year that they're looking at?
Well, I've not seen anything in writing, but the state talks about raising the pay rate for the state, and that hurts us in the long run. I don't know, usually we're competing with like Johnson City, Kingsport, the smaller counties. And unless the officer just wants a slower area, so to speak, we usually don't have that problem. So I think it took us 2 years to get competitive. We've just hired 2 officers out of Bristol. People are coming here now. And it's not because we're high paid. It's just because instead of being here, we're here. And I've said this before in the commission, and as police officers, you'll work for less pay if you have decent equipment and you have an administration that's behind you and supports you. You don't get into law enforcement to get rich.
Any other questions? Oh, Commissioner Tucker?
Go back to the SOR, get this understanding. So your budget's showing 3.5 million, but $1 million of that actually is from the SRO, isn't it? Your budget.
Well, we don't really see that, the cost for the SROs, yes.
It's coming out of your budget, the cost of.
Oh, absolutely, it's, on back, right there, 1.183, so 1.2 million is what we pay out of the operating cost for the sheriff's.
You didn't get the 975 back in your budget.
Because of the way that it's set up, we got 73,000. So long story short, if you have a school resource officer that makes 50,000 a year, the state, they will give you 75,000 per school. So if he makes 50, there's 25,000 left over. Then we come to the commission and ask for that money, and we can only use it for either SRO training or equipment, or it goes back to the state. But yes, 1.2 comes out of the budget, and that's I'm not saying anything with the last line, but at the end of the day, if that almost $1 million went into the budget, I would be coming and asking for 208,000 instead of what I'm having to ask for.
I guess the question for Mitch, is that how the money was supposed to flow in, Mitch, for the SRO?
Yeah, I mean, it was budgeted as grant revenue and as SRO expense.
But it doesn't come into the sheriff's budget.
Yeah, because you don't have any revenue lines in your budget. It doesn't offset the expense, the revenue line in the general revenue section of the county budget.
It seemed like that should go, I'm just asking for future, it seemed like that should go into the sheriff's budget, and he wouldn't be asking for as much. Am I correct or not?
The intent of the grant was to help counties and cities that couldn't afford school resource officers. We already made the sacrifice, so to speak, and took them out of our budget to put them in the schools because I think it's that important. But if I wasn't paying for that out of the operating budget, I could I rounded off to 12 more officers out on patrol, and you see what it would cost to be less than that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you very much.
Like you said about the SROs, I don't feel like public safety is anything that we can
mics on. And another thing, I think you already touched it, but out of your 23-24 budgets, did you give your employees raises or bonuses?
I've not given any bonuses or raises to anybody who wasn't promoted, nothing extra. Not out of this budget, no.
But now to clarify, as part of the budget process last year, there was a per hour increase
Yes.
for staff.
Yes. Two.
So I
Two dollars.
mean, during the current fiscal year, they did get a raise. Right.
Yes,
You're
but-
saying you didn't do anything above and beyond what was budgeted?
No, I mean, technically, I could take the money that I have in savings and like I said, here's a bonus to every employee, but I don't think that's right. I would rather pay down the debt to the employee for the comp time. And we'll still have some money left over to turn in, which, you know, I think it would be a good idea to start looking at our, vacation time because it's on our budget. It's every time somebody leaves, we take a hit if they've been here a while.
Does your folks accrue vacation throughout the year, or is that a line item that you load up?
They accrue vacation,
It's just
throughout the year. We're working on a system to cap it and then start over. But that's gonna be tough. But we have people that have 1,200 hours, 1,400 hours of vacation time built up because we've been so shorthanded, they can't take vacation. And then they work extra comp time. So we have some really robust, tough employees that are dedicated to the job.
Sheriff, I just want to take a minute. Thank you for your
Thank you.
hard work this year in this ankle monitoring program. I know you're working extremely hard on it. I know that you'd like more cooperation in our entire justice system. And I just want to say, if there's anything the county commission can do to help you with your ankle monitoring program, I know you funded a lot of that by yourself here. And I just want to say thank you for working through those.
I appreciate that. And the ankle monitoring, it's not to let people out of jail. It's for special cases. We have the great majority, I don't want to say this while the public's here, the great majority, you know, at least half of our inmate population are pretrial misdemeanor offenders, you know, criminal trespassing. You know, and you may say, well, they committed a crime, they need to be in jail. Well, it's also costing $70 a day for somebody, and we're paying their medical bills that is in there for trespassing. And so I'm going to take a minute to preach. If they go to jail and they have $1,000 bond and they have that money, they have that $1,000 or that $100 to a bond, but they walk out and it doesn't matter when they come back to court. Well, if they can't bond out, they may sit in there for a year before they ever see the inside of a courtroom after their 14-day hearing. I don't think that's smart. I don't think it's good business, and I don't think constitutionally it's fair to the offender. So there's my.
Jeff, we appreciate you.
All right, thank you all. I appreciate your consideration.
All right, next speaker this evening is Sarah Lawson, our clerk and master. Sarah, there you are.
Yeah.
Sarah, we appreciate you being with us tonight.
That's a big ass component. I haven't had any feces thrown on me recently. I said I haven't had any feces thrown on me recently. Always tomorrow.
Across the street.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to say. There are a few increases in my budget that I've requested. I've requested $15,000 in the deputies line. I have 2 employees that could be retiring this next fiscal year. Y'all got me? Okay.
Here, let me tell them what page.
Okay.
Numbers are on.
I didn't do a PowerPoint.
Yeah, under tab 3. Page 36, that's it, transfer report.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, everybody ready? I have requested that $15,537 be added into our deputy line item. I have 2 employees that may retire, one definitely, the other probably in the next fiscal year. I would like to have that money to ease the burden on the office. We have, the jobs in my office are highly technical. You have to have a lot of knowledge of the court system and filings and how the legal system works in general. So those are jobs that really need a lot of training, and I would like to be able to start somebody out pretty early in that process. So that's just a little cushion to help ease that burden. I'm also seeking a $13,000 increase in legal notices. That is for service of process on the delinquent tax suit. As you heard the sheriff say, they're strapped. Civil summonses are probably not at the highest point. And also these pay $7.50. So I'm seeking that money to pay an increase. We have some constables that serve papers for us. I'd like to be able to have the court consider giving a small raise. Other counties around us pay $42 to serve tax papers. We pay $7.50. So I think we're looking at about a $20 to $25 ask, and that money would cover that. That money also would come back into the county. It's not an expense that we'll never see again. Once those taxes are paid, that money comes back in. The increase in cost of services in the maintenance agreement line, that's by our contracts that we have. Those costs go up every year. I'm asking for $300 in duplicating supplies for our paper. It's went up quite a bit. And I'm asking for $3,000 in other supplies and materials to get some storage units for files. We are out of room in all of our vaults, so we're gonna have to start looking and storing things outside of the vault. But that's just logistics, so.
That's another area where you and Mayor work together, because I know we've got, last count I was aware of, and this is some time ago, the county had 4 storage units.
Okay.
I think we had some. That's just something we could coordinate.
Right. This has to be secured storage, though. It's files, basically. And we have to keep those forever. There's no throwing those away or getting rid of those through any kind of government action. So that just is what it is. I'd like to get some shelving units so we can put some, get some files out of our vaults. It's a little top heavy in all of our vaults. And salaries, we were told not to put any COLA raise in as a request, but I would like to point out that last year, the raise for the employees was, my employees, I know, appreciated it greatly, and it was needed. And I would ask that you all consider doing the same thing this year as you did last year. And it will allow more competition, for me to get more competitive candidates in. I would really like to have someone who has either a 2-year degree or some clerical experience in my office. And I'm just not really getting those resumes at the current level of pay that we have. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Mayor?
Last thing I asked the sheriff last year, the 23-24 budget. Did you give any raises or bonuses about?
Just the $2 COLA raise.
Do we have any space in court fee charges that might be offset that? We will notice the increase.
I'm not sure what you're asking in.
We get document fees, from the court cases.
We do, but those are turned over as a commission or cost. I don't have a way to roll those anywhere else. Right. That's what you're asking.
Yeah, but it might have gone into our revenue. You have any space allow statute to add that revenue?
I have it's all statute. Everything that we can charge, we do charge.
Right, but there's maximum, we get
take some action?
Yes,
We are.
we are.
Thank you.
Any other questions? As far as revenue, it's not expected to increase a lot. It is what it is. We have had about 20% more filings this year than last year, than this calendar year, which Mr. Wheeler can tell you the courts are booming. So, yeah, thank you, thank you. All right, if nobody has any questions, I'll sit down and yield the floor.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Our next speaker is Rick Story, our trustee. Rick, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, I think you have a, let's see, I'm not sure what page on.
Well, that's, tab 3, page 27. Trustees, page 27. On tab 3.
Yeah, I won't cover everything up, just the kind of the way it's ordered in, as you know, the statutory office is a salary except for the state. So that was in there, but the one you will see on the salaries are part-time folks. We started tax collection, earlier this year, so we got a September. We've had 5 part-time before, we got down to about 3. We raised the pay on the others, and so rather than trying to justify a full-time person with benefits and everything, this, that 15 there is in there for, to see if we can hire 1 or 2 additional people just to work during the tax season. Of course, our tax season is picking up, and so it worked pretty well when we had 4 and 5, it worked well. You had somebody out every day, they're off, they work 4 days a week, work 7 hours with no benefits. So, you know, that's what those dollars are there for. What we don't use in the year, and we don't put that anywhere else, that turns back into the general fund. So, and Commissioner Johnson, the same thing, we paid what was allowed last year, the increase that was provided by the commission. So we didn't pay any bonuses or anything such as that. Good question, thanks for asking that. I mean, you'll see the Social Security and everything changing there. I guess another one, data processing services, you know, that's just straight from our vendor, when that, like, they said the plan for this amount, whether it takes that or not, there again, we don't move it at that line item, so there's 3,400 in there. It may be 2,800, it may be 2,000, we set the plan for that, kind of what we budgeted for. Legal notices, that's the newspaper, that's where we pay for our dues that we're putting in there, you know, before we turn them over to the clerk of master and things. There again, that's just what the paper continues to bill us. And you know, I don't know what happens if they're already a dinosaur. But, you know, maybe we can go electronic one day and you know, get by with this or publish on our website or something. But maintenance agreement there again, that's just that's our software vendor is pretty much the change there. But just a modest change there, $1,200, $1,400 on the rentals. That includes our property that we lease in Johnson City, where we share with the clerk's office tagged up there. So that's the increase in there. It's across those items that you see budgeted below there as well on the rentals, so which takes in our Pitney Bowes postage machine. But I would tell you that the offices within the old courthouse now, about 3 or 4 of us are looking to consolidate postage machines, and Willie's Reaper is working on that through Pitney Bowes to see, you know, I think we have a machine in the clerk's office maybe that's large enough to handle all the mail we process. So rather than everybody paying these fees, we can use that one machine and then everybody pay their own postage at the machine. So hopefully that's going to go into a savings there. You said increase on travel. I put that in there because we're trying to get some of our folks to take some classes to better educate them in their jobs and turnover there. And I'll be going in as our HTC trustee president. You know, that will be some traveling, but I just kind of guessed at a number there. But there again, if we don't use that, that comes back in. But that's kind of the on my back side of it, and yours on the office supplies. You know, we really whittled those away over the years, and it's getting so now that with tax relief and everybody sending the notices now and everything, you know, we're going through a lot of those ink cartridges, and it's like everything else. The price is going up, so you'll see that increase there. And then, you know, that's pretty much our budget there, the total down at the bottom there. I would share with you, we collected right at 96 with capital tax, so we're at 95.913. And on our 22 taxes, we're at 96.5% on those, but. Yes, sir.
I have noticed the legal notices going up and up, and then that's an area of revenue that kind of got captured, so they can increase it, we just said, hey. But you know, if your association is doing any work, and we're gonna need some legislation at some point, it's the ability to do small line notices, because it's just gonna get worse. We have that problem probably with all the courts too, but I know you.
No, Commissioner, I know that they're having that conversation because we've talked about this in the regional meetings and our state meeting. We've got one coming up in Chattanooga, second week in May. Our legislative committee has discussed that because, some of them don't have a local newspaper. We used to use the neighborhood bill was still in there, and it was a big savings just to use that. But then, he's not there now, so we're limited to the providers that we have. Great question, and I can see them, they're having to change something. The legislature will have to change something because from some of the small areas that might not even have a paper anymore, they're going to have to have some way to communicate that. Any other questions? Next.
Here, several months ago, we get the public to give you to go ahead and invest some money. How's that going?
Well, it's going well. We have our treasury bills, but treasuries, they're getting you hold maturity, you keep your rate. We probably got 36 million or so in treasury bills. We use the LGIP down in Nashville because their rate is about 530 something now, but that is pretty liquid. If you spend money on the stadiums at the high schools, you need $8 million. Monday mornings, I can go online tonight and it'll be in our account tomorrow afternoon or Monday to later. So that's good. But the treasury is what we've tried to do. We were getting, you may get 5% locally or something like that on our money or 4.9 or something. But treasuries, we go out there and put for 12 or 18. I don't go over 18 months, but you put them out there. We're getting anywhere from 4.78 to 5. If talk of the Fed was going to lower the rates, that was kind of a cushion for us. If they did, and your local liquid money goes down and start paying 3% or something, and we still got this sitting out there at 4.35. And so when one comes through, it's like now we've got some coming due at the end of May, and first of because I know that we got a bond payment coming out. We've got a school system. We're going to need about I don't know, $16 million like that. They draw 3 months. But the investment's going to get it. Usually we're not having investment committee this week. What we are doing, we're in the process of getting our financial services out. They're supposed to be bid every 5 years, and they haven't been bid in some time. We have reviewed that back in 19 or 21, so like during COVID. And we agreed at that time there was no need to make a change that everybody pretty much the same. We got about 7 banks that are participating in the bidding process. We sent the RFP out, and they started the conference call yesterday to show how they enter their information into the portal. So we'll see what they come back on with. That's some good things already come from the bank, but I said we need to put that in writing and put that in your office. So, but the investments are, we must stick with treasuries or local. We got 5.03 and $10 million invested in our local license at the house and we have. So we're trying to keep some staggered a cushion to our liquid and some material down the road coming out of it. Yes, sir.
You sent out the notices earlier this last year. How much earlier were they, and what was the result?
Year before last, we got tax notices out the last week in November.
Okay.
This year, thanks to this commission, you all always set your tax rate in June, but all jurisdictions within the county, that includes Washington County, that includes the town of Jonesboro, Johnson City, and Watauga, that's got a couple of parcels.
Right.
They have to have their tax rates set and sent into the state. Year before last, one of them did set their tax rate until the 3rd week of September. They didn't send it until October. Once we got to the printer, they approved this, we're ready to go. My phone call said, Rick, you're number 35 in line. So we mailed them in November. This it doesn't put pressure on the taxpayer, it just gives them longer to pay before fee. I mean, you've got the middle of September to the last day of February. That, you know, you can make partial payments on taxes. We changed that a number of years ago. You can even set your taxes up to prepay for the next year. I mean, right now, we're kind of limbo sitting anybody up because we don't know what it's going to be, and we don't want to set it up and then have them change it. But, you know, that's an option to have, and we tell everybody comes in, you know, if they're delinquent, you know, I said, I'm not saying that you have to say, here's an option for you.
Right.
And some people have never heard of it, but, it's just hard to get the message out if they don't have paper and don't watch TV and don't have a computer and don't get the mail.
Do more people pay early?
Have
you seen them that?
You know, I think, I'll tell you one thing we did see more people paying with credit card this time, which we don't get the fee off of that, but, we got more. And I think that this may be the way of life, you know, some people want it just for points, but they're willing to pay the fee, I guess, but we started taking money in early. Our biggest taxes come in at the end of the year. I mean, that's your mortgage coming. That's when the CoreLogic and Wales and B of A, you know, we're getting checks for, you know, we're getting a wire for, you know, $60 million at a time. You know, that's how we get there, $76 million or so. Any other questions?
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, thank you. Next speaker is Dana Jones, our election administrator. Dana, thank you. Thank you for providing us a budget the other night at the commission meeting. I got to review mine, and thank you very much for that.
Welcome, my pleasure.
It's page 10, have for ones are all from Dana's, book with her. I told her earlier today, Commissioner Wheeler, zero-based budgeting, she would be next for that.
First of all, I'm Dana Jones. I'm your Washington County Election Administrator, as you guys know. And I do have Gary McAllister here in the audience, who is the chairman of the Election Commission. And as you guys know, it's their duty to take our budget, fund up, or tell us what we need, and then it's my duty to bring it to you guys and ask for that funding. I do have a statement I'd like to read just to give you an insight behind all of this. And Mitch is right. I start off with a blank sheet of paper with the numbers, the budget numbers, and then I build up what I need for that year. The Washington County Election Commission respectfully submits their budget request to the county legislative body. The election budget for the 2023-24, which included one election of $108,600 and $47,971 in CDC infrastructure costs, was $876,549. State funds reimbursed to the county during the 2023-24 budget year included $15,164 of my salary compensation and $108,600 for the presidential primary. If you add one more election to the 2023-24 budget, that's $985,149. The presidential election in November will cost more than a regular election, so that is a conservative number. If you compare my office to the MOE of 2022, the last time we had two elections in 1 year, those two elections were not presidential elections, and a lot has changed. The Washington County maintains 180 voting machines now instead of 140. State law stipulates that I have one machine operator for every two voting machines and one registrar for every two operators. Washington County increased its population class for election official salaries. The staff health care costs went up substantially. Total employee cost, election workers cost, administrators bump counts for 72% of my increase over the MOE of 2022. The Washington County Election Commission is extremely grateful to this legislative body for awarding us a new home. Our office does not have a monthly rental or mortgage payment, but we do now carry monthly utilities, trash, gas, internet bills, liability, and building insurance. The yearly increase is projected to be $29,000 a year. That alone is a 15% increase for my MOE from 2022.
With technology, there's a lot of cost. After the last MOE, we purchased 50 more poll pads and implemented Easy Vote for campaign finance reporting. The total yearly cost for those two items is $69.50. Washington County voting rolls have increased from 72,202 registered voters since November of 2020 to 88,349 in March of 2024. That is a 19% increase in our voters. The Washington County Election Commission realizes the money we spend is not our own money, but it is the money of our taxpayers. We respectfully submit our budget for 2024-25 to the election legislative body, $984,492 for your review and approval. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Now, there's a couple of things I would like to add to my commissioner's statements, if that's okay. First of all, Mitch pointed out to me there was an error in my budget today. I overestimated the healthcare costs that my employees had, so that number should go down by $37,500. So that's a good thing. I'm sorry I made a mistake, but I made it in the right direction. The other thing is that I just want to touch base with you on is that when I gave you my budget last year, I told you that I project to receive $166,965 reimbursement from the state for that presidential primary. Well, I did get, and that included my AOE budget. So we were short $42,200 in reimbursement from the state, but we didn't spend that money, guys. And I'm not spending that money now. You've got about $60,000 in this year's budget from my department that's coming back to you guys. If we didn't need to buy or hire all the election workers when we were planning that election back in June. The state was telling us to plan for a 40% voter turnout. We had a 15% voter turnout, so I just didn't need to spend all the money. But I do assure you that everything that we spent on that election, we did get reimbursed for, and what we didn't spend, we did not spend, if that makes sense. We're giving it back to you. So I will commit the same thing to you in this budget, that if I don't use it for that presidential election, I will give it back to you at the end of the year. And I think that's all that I have, unless you guys have questions for me. But we really are grateful for our standalone building, and it's a good fit for us. And it's just, we're real appreciative. We're really, really appreciative.
All right, is there any questions for Commissioner Blunt?
Thanks for what you do for us, citizens and voters in Washington County. This is maybe less about this year's budget and more about future budgets, but I'm just curious. I know the city of Johnson City has a referendum coming up about where they'll change the timing of their elections. Will that have any impact on your budget, positive or negative?
No, sir. To be honest, the short answer is no, sir, because we already run. It will be neutral for us. It will shift workload around a little bit, but that's not a big deal. We can handle that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Wheel?
I guess maybe more directed to Mitch, but I'm having a little bit of trouble following MOE. Are we actually under MOE? They're proposing under MOE?
It's been a while since I've looked at it. I put that together, and I thought I'd given that to you all earlier. No, for two election cycle, I thought we were fairly, a good way ahead. I think you're funding more than the MOE.
Okay.
For the benefit of the audience, would one of you give them a little primer on MOE?
You got
There are three departments, right, or two. There's three departments in the county that our funding cannot go below our MOE. And you have to compare the election MOE for like election years. So you're just going back 2 years, because that's the last time I had 2 elections in 1 year. But unfortunately for the election office, we're going into what they call a circus election, because it's going to be a circus.
And it's gonna be quite bigger than the election that we had 2 years ago. But you can't go below the funding of 2 years ago, and I was looking for it in my packet, and I don't see it here. I think it was 784,000, but I'm doing that from memory, guys. But we are substantially up from that. But again, 72% of that is employee costs. You know, I personally received an $11,000 bump with the increase in population in Washington County. So it is what it is, but I promise I built my budget from scratch, and that is what we need to run elections and run them securely and comfortably, and the equipment that we bought with the maintenance agreements.
Well, follow up on my question, I would certainly love in any way suggest you have a detailed out justification for what you need, but I'm just gonna be scratching my head for trying to figure out how long we're doing all that, you were below. That's right. But I do, I've done with a couple of departments when I was trying to them stop if they're open, over 5% of the point now. So you're all 9% increase over last year, which is not really comparable to the big election. But from the expense standpoint, the 9% higher than what we're last year, we're gonna have more elections this year, I don't think. But I would put that out so the public gets that. That's something we got to talk.
Yes, sir. And just like this year, when the budget is closed, my budget will go down because I'm giving you guys back the money. I hope to do the same thing next year, but we don't know what's coming, you know, so I've got to plan it like I'm having a 90% turnout in November, which is what I'm planning for. And I am planning for an 18% turnout in August. So that's the election turnout numbers I'm planning for those 2 elections. You said, you know, so that's what the budget is based on.
How'd you come up with 8 months?
Past election years, and Secretary of State gives us feedback too, and it's the positions that are on the ballot and the competition that's on the ballot counts in. Before we had challengers to the state representatives, it was a little bit lower, and now we've got now you've got a referendum. It might tick up a little bit for the 4 referendums that are on the ballot, but you know, it's a guesstimate. It's just an educated hypothesis.
It's fact-based.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't just pull numbers out of the air.
I mean, but I did pull it out of the internet. Somebody asked what MOE is.
Well, it's maintenance of effort. But for the benefit of the audience, I thought they ought to know what MOE is, because certainly as a commissioner, it was one of the things I learned and was surprised about. It's a mandate by our state.
Which you can't spend below the MOE, which is what Commissioner Wheeler said there. But the 21-22 actual expense for the election commission, that was a 2 election year, was $744,000. So you don't have a problem missing the MOE.
Commissioner Malone? Just as it relates to maintenance of effort, the election commission is not necessarily a good example, because if you think about the election commission, they might have a year when they have no elections, and then they have a year like 2024 when there are a lot of elections, including the presidential election. But maintenance of effort for both of the departments where there is one, the library, the school system, the sheriff's department, the highway department, I'm probably missing one. But essentially, the state is mandating that we cannot give them a budget for the next year that's less than their budget this year. So I want to make sure that those in the audience understand that maintenance of effort means that you can't cut their budget. Now, school system, there is some formulas where you can cut their budget depending on average daily attendance, I think. But it's one thing I think, it was certainly news to me as a commissioner. I'm going, the state tells us we can't cut a budget over what it was last year. So just an FYI.
And I can tell you, we do everything we can to save dollars in our office too. Our comp hours have gone down about 30% in our office because we've streamlined things. We've bought the technology. We've made things more efficient. You might think, well, I don't worry that much about comp hours. Well, you should, because it's time and a half. So, and I need my employees in the office, you know, not outside the office. And the other thing that we've done, which I'm very proud of, is that we were the first election office in Tennessee to go to nonprofit postage. Now there's 8 more that I know of, and we've saved so much on postage. It doesn't justify for us to even have a postage machine, because that's 3,200 stamps a quarter I can buy. So now we buy stamps at the post office that I have in a secure locked area that we check out when we use them, so I make sure there's accountability there. But we don't even need a postage machine anymore. So when we can save dollars, guys, I realize that the tax dollars that I spend are, this is my home. I mean, I graduated from Daniel Boone High School. These are my people. So I want to make sure that I spend my money responsibly. So just so you know, we don't just spend to spend. Question forms?
Yes, ma'am. Have you or your office gave you the bonuses, pay raises, besides what was in 23?
We have not given bonuses. That is actually something I put in my bonus, my budget. It's okay, because I understand why. Let me kind of ask why I asked for a few bucks in bonuses though. We had a early voting officer and an early voting machine operator that had to stay after and talk to the policeman and talk to the DA at one point. And I pay my election workers by the day. It's how it's set up. I can't change it. So there was no way for me to thank them for what they had to go through during that process. So I did ask for a little bit of a bonus in this budget so that I can take care of that. But no, sir, there were no bonuses paid this year. Now, as for salaries, yes, we did have some increases. We went into this year 1 employee down, and we were moving offices. So I did not fill that position until we got situated in Princeton Arts. So I brought somebody on board, and then we lost Joshua, which was just heartbreaking. He went to a new church where he's an associate pastor in North Carolina. And then we had to fill his position. It took us a little while to fill his position. Well, we got those positions filled. And then when we were going over budget, Mitch told me I had some money left in my employee compensation line. So I did take that money out, divide it by 52, divide it by 5 employees, divided by 37.5 hours a week. And I did give my staff a bump up in their salaries because they have worked hard. They worked really hard. And for half the year, they were a person down in that office and they did not miss a beat. And if you look at the website that we now have an IT person on staff, and we have trained her to do, because election is a special beast. Really, there's nobody else who understands it outside our world and how secure it is. And it's Veronica Knuckles, Rocky. She does a fabulous job. I mean, she does an absolutely fabulous job. And we are going to have to upgrade our website because it gets so much traffic now, especially during elections. We are getting ready to do that. But we have saved so much money because we have the website. We put our meeting dates on that website so that we don't have to pay for a newspaper ad every time. A lot of our communications now with our workers is through that website. And I mean, it's just like another person in the office. And keep in mind, we have had a 19% increase in voters in Washington County in 4 years, and our staff has not gone up. But we've made them very specialized. I've given them the tools they need to do their jobs and do it effectively and efficiently, and then I get out of their way. I just try to keep the roadblocks from in front of them.
So, let me make sure I understand. So last year, we made a decision to give everyone a $2 raise. Is that what your department got too?
The ones that were here at the time, yes, sir. And I didn't have a full staff at that time.
But they got that 200 and you give them another increase?
I did. I gave them a small bump up.
When you say small, how small is that, or can you say?
It's okay if we say or can we say?
I don't know. I don't know.
It was 80 cents an hour, I believe.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Steve. I can give you the number one can do the next.
That's fine.
Okay.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Dana. We appreciate you being here this evening. Speaking to us about your budget, thank you so much. Next presenter is Director Lewis Hank. He's your solid waste director. Lewis, we're glad you're here tonight.
You will need to go to tab 5 in your notebook. Like, page 2.
We're getting ready to take a little recess here, Lewis, after you, so. Okay. Yeah, read your good, you both.
About putting pressure on.
Yeah.
Good. Not really have much change in my budget this year. If you have any questions on me, I answer them. I will say that, I know you're seeing an increase in those salary lines. It looks like it's showing that we're, was asking for one, but actually what that came down to was, last year when you all gave the, pay increase, I didn't actually have enough money in my budget to fund that $2. And, correct me if I'm wrong, Mitch, that, we were going to, at the end of the year, if there wasn't enough money in the budget, that we would do a budget amendment to finish filling those, numbers for this year. That's why it looks like it's showing that increase. Is that right?
I didn't hear it.
Those salary lines are showing an increase, so I'm just trying to let them know that I'm not asking for an increase in those line items, that, we're actually doing a budget amendment next month.
Oh, yeah, that's correct. He's moving some money around. He's moved some folks within his salary lines. And so, you know, you've got one line there that's actually showing, I think, part-time showing a decrease. Don't know, you know, and so those numbers we want to move around in the current year, which will change the amounts there in the second change. It's not significant. In that budget amendment that he's doing, it's budget neutral. So, you know, what you want to look at, I mean, what's important, I guess, in that perspective is to go to the bottom of page 3. Well, after page 4, there's, you know, his total departmental change on the expense side. Less than 2%, right at 2% of his total budget.
Less than 2% change. Well, that sounds pretty good, wouldn't you say?
I was just curious if Lewis is seeing any changes on the revenue side in terms of the price of metals and the things you're recycling.
Actually, cardboard is on its way up. We're about, right now, we're doing about 170 a ton. The last I checked, and I'm hoping and projecting that that'll go on up. I'd like to get back up to around 200 or more. That's where we were at. In previous years, and it dropped off last year, which was a ton on the revenue side, but I do project it'll keep going. At least in the short term.
Thank you. Well, sure to be committed on your budget. I know the last several years, we've had to transfer funds from your budget and everything else. And I know we never put them back. You know, a lot of that money went to education projects, and thank you for doing that. And I know you managed a tight budget. We appreciate you doing it.
And I appreciate everything you're gonna do for us. And I would ask if we could might do a 5% increase of salaries, but just, you know, just something that I would like to see, but, you know, it's up to you. So,
Do you know your average rate of pay in your department right now, Lewis?
the average, I know on our truck driver scale, they're, a couple of them is close to 20 an hour, and then I've got, the actual convenience center attendants that are down to 14. So,
All right. And that was after the races.
Yes.
When it affected. Right, that would have put him about 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them were as low as 11.
All right. All right, any further questions of, Rick Grant? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Louis, for your receiving. We're gonna take about a 10-minute recess. Take a rest and we'll be right back. Teresa Bowman, our registered deed, she's with us this evening.
As she's making her way up, if you go back to tab three, page 13.
Page 13.
Lucky 13.
Well, it's about the same as last year. I haven't really asked for any extra money much, just a little bit for register's fees. That's went up maybe $100 or $200. And our health insurance is going up, you know, which I had no control with that. But I really wanted to start out with thanking you all for the raises last year, because my employees really felt appreciated. They really did. And I think this commission knows the value of good employees, experienced employees. They're hard to replace. I haven't put a raise in this year because I have confidence that you all will do what you can for the employee. But I did want to tell you I appreciate that too. But the income that or the taxes we received today, or this year from July to March, it's just July to March, to the trustee department, we have gave them $584,955. And then in taxes from July to March, $3,644,891. So, like when I was elected, in our data processing account was very low because we had 2 part-time people that was paid out of that account. And so I did not rehire them because we really needed them. We're doing back indexing, and actually that's all they were doing. So the girls now in the office, they've done in their spare time. So our data processing balance is up to $124,798. You know, that's just the $2 fee. So it's grown significantly. So in the future, if I need, you know, new computers or whatnot, I'll have that money. You know, it doesn't come out of the general fund. It comes out of the data processing item. But outside of that, I really haven't asked for anything. You know, y'all have any questions?
I like the window.
Oh, we love our window. We love our window. And, you know, we haven't had any complaints, you know, about it or anything, so we do like that. We appreciate that. I only gave the $2. I only gave the $2 raise across the board. I haven't given any bonuses or anything like that. So. Okay, thank you.
2% will do that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you, Teresa. Yes, we appreciate you. Richard Griffin, our library director.
Page 69, under tab 3.
69 of tab 3.
Good evening, Commissioners. I would like to introduce my senior librarian, Ms. Christy Walker.
I want to thank you all for letting us come and talk about our budget today. I know it's been a long evening, so I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. We are having some exciting times right now at the library, as you know. We've been in front of you a lot, so I'm not going to go over all of the things that the services we provide for the county. I think you all are well aware of that. We had 83,000 visitors last year. It's a very highly used service for the county. We have asked for a few increases, mostly for vendor costs across the board. They've gone up, and I can be more specific if you'd like. We, particularly with our tech provider, they were going to go up 3 times what we were pay, and we have negotiated it down to half of that. So it is still gonna be an increase, but it's much less than it would have been. We're also moving our cataloger to full-time. That increases our deputies line. Of course, anytime you put someone full-time, and we don't do that lightly, most of ours, or at least half of our staff is part-time. And we try to stick to that and not put a lot more people in full-time, because we know how much that costs the county. Our book budget has increased significantly. We circulated 200,000 items last year, and 60,000 of those were ebooks and e-audiobooks. I don't know how much y'all know about how much those cost. It's actually cheaper when the individual goes out to buy a book. It's cheaper for them to get an ebook. It is very expensive for libraries to get them, and you only get them for a year. A mid-list title is about $80, whereas we could buy a book for $25 and keep it forever. So that there is a significant increase there. We've had a 25% increase in our ebook usage. So we're trying to keep up with that demand, and we haven't been able to do it last year, so we hope we can do it this year. And although it's not on the agenda tonight, I would like to let you know, first of all, we really appreciated that $2 price last year. That has allowed us to get better people in, helped us to retain people, made us a little more attractive to people coming in. We're getting loads more applications for jobs. We have one out right now. We got 60 applications for one part-time position. But I would ask that because some of our staff is still making below $12 an hour, even after the raise, I would ask that you consider the $2 across the board rate. I know inflation is out of control for everybody, and I know you all only have so much money to go around. But we really appreciate we have a small staff, but they're so highly trained. The things that they need to do are so specific that it takes 6 months minimum to train them to work the circulation desk or do all of the activities that we do. It probably, because we don't just check out books, we don't just, check out books and check them back in. We actually have a wide variety of things that we offer. So are there any questions that I can answer? Yes.
You said 83,000 visitors, is that total?
Yes, it's for both libraries. We're one library system.
But is that?
We have that, no, it's a door count, so. But they're there, and they don't just, they come in and, they don't just do what they need to do and leave. They come in, they stay for programs, they sit in our children's section and let their kids play, they socialize. Seniors come there. A lot of times it's the only interaction they have all day. And so we are very attuned to their needs and the things that they need. We do have a lot of repeat customers. Some people come in every day, some people every 2 weeks, some people once a month, and some just when they need us for computer access and things like that, which a lot of people still don't have in our county.
Does this budget reflect any changes in it as far as your moving of the Gray Library or anticipated moving?
It does not, and the reason we didn't do that was when we were preparing it, the city building still hadn't been locked in, so we weren't sure if we were gonna be moving or not. And we discussed it, but we knew that that would make the MOE go up. And, if we put money in there for furniture and all those things, then you all, of course, if you did approve it, would be required to do that much money every year.
Right.
So we didn't want to add to the MOE more than we needed to for our just plain yearly budget.
We appreciate you doing that. I just wanted clarification that to make sure that the budget we're looking at today does not contain any anticipated moving charges. I know it's hard when you're preparing your budget months away to get here today. So thank you for doing that. And definitely we'll be continuing to follow up with those anticipated costs with you all. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you all very much for being here this evening. All right, our property assessor is retired. Robbie, we appreciate all you've done for us tonight. You didn't know you was going to have to work. Got him on overtime tonight.
Page 25 and 26, you know, he has two departments, the assessor and the reappraisal.
25 and 27 tonight.
25 and 26.
I would like to say I appreciate every effort you all do for the county and the city of Washington County. Thank you also for last year, what you did for the employees. That was greatly appreciated. I hope that we can do the same this year. Let's see, so my budget stayed pretty much the same. Few little increases. I did increase my travel because we are getting a new mapping system. So that my travel went up on that, both in my assessor and reappraisal. Right now, I'm just on the assessor side. Most of the things stayed the same, and like paper went up, so water went up. Just a few things. And on the reappraisal side, I did, let me go back to the other, I'm sorry. So what I did on the assessor side, I have 2 full-time employees, and then I did, you know, I was appointed last year, so I didn't have a chief deputy or an office manager, and so I promoted that this year. So then I took part of the money that was left and I moved it into part-time. So I did ask for some new monies for the part-time and assessor. And then I hired another full-time reappraisal, or not a reappraisal, a commercial field appraiser. I've got one, but we need 2. And then I've actually hired a part-time field appraiser also, and that's in reappraisal. So if I do need another staff, and I'm looking to hire someone, but I'm looking for part-time, and see how that does before we bring them on as full-time, just because of the benefits and what it costs the county. On my budget, if you look at the, on the 52,310, you'll see on the deputies started out at 488,800. And then I hired a part-time, so I had to move 7,000 out of that. So then I actually, to bring him in for a year would be 32,500. That's why it looks like 345%. But then on the, it looks like I'm over on my full-time personnel on the 52,310, 106. What that is last year out of my budget, we had, the previous administration put in a 5% increase, but then the commission decided to put in a $2 raise, and that the difference in that came out of my budget. I didn't get those pennies for that money, those money. So that came out of my budget because I had an excess at that time. So.
Let me share.
Sure, go ahead.
What he says, last year we all did the $2 an hour raise, and we had a budget amendment, and we added more money to different departments. We did not do that with the assessor, because he had, like I said, some positions in there that were able to fund that. I went back a couple of days ago to see what that number would have been had you funded $2 an hour for the folks that he had. And it was my number was right at $12,000, 11,700 in the assessor's office, and $39,000 in reappraisal. So between the 2 departments, he essentially used $50,000. Position money.
But it's not new money that I'm asking for. This is money that should have received last That makes sense. I know.
So if you look at the increase, I mean, if you would consider it that that money had been in his budget last year,
Then I would ask.
you wouldn't have.
Correct. And then some, we had to we had to increase, our travel there because of training. And then on the, what we did on software, we just put it back to where it originally was, in the same way with data processing equipment, we just put it back to the original amount. Because we've had to borrow money this year, that's why I've had to up my office supplies and, you know, toners and things like that. And one thing we did last year is we cut off earlier so the trustee would not be at the end of the line to where he would be more at the front of the line. And so what we're gonna do this year, because we know that it's gonna be, you know, with the values increasing and everything, we want to give people as much time as we can. So as soon as our county board is over, we're going to cut it off. So I think we can cut off in July. So as soon as the county board's over and we're done, then we're going to shut off for that year. So the trustee and the cities can get out their notices out quicker, give people the citizens more time to actually pay their taxes and see what everything. We all know here that everybody in shock right now. It's his sticker shock. And, you know, everybody thinks their values are doubling and we know that, or their taxes are gonna double. And we know that we're gonna get a new certified rate. On the certified rate, we'll try to bring that to you next month. The 5th, I'm gonna cut off, and then I'll try to get it to the budget committee and then bring it to the full commission next month. That way, in June, you all have time to actually adjust your tax rate or whatever you need to do. So, then on my sheet, the only thing really new that I'm asking for is a couple new vehicles. What we've got is, you know, I did hire 2 new people. I've got one older vehicle, that I can still use. But if I use that, then I don't have a spare.
2 of them.
Yes.
And what are they?
Ford Explorers. And we go with what Alan suggests, because Alan doesn't want to work for us in my office. We've got the Escapes and we need to get rid of them. They're not any good. The newer ones aren't. The 2 old ones I've got, it's got almost, one of them got 105,000, the other one's got like 95,000. He said, those are great, but compared to the new ones, I think I've got one that might have either a bad head or something's going on with this, so I'm gonna be down a vehicle, then I won't have a spare vehicle, so.
Would it be a fair statement, any fuel cost savings you might get, you lose, you get back up in operation? Escape versus Explorer.
Well, there's really no difference. No. Fuel savings is not what you would think on these cars, because once they're started, it's kind of like a police car. You can't go by how many miles you're getting per gallon, because they're on 24 hours or 24, you know, they're on the whole shift. So when they go out, they're not being a subdivision. If they're going by and looking at each house, unless they have to stop and actually get out and go to this house, that car is sitting there idling pretty long, so it's really not driving. That makes sense. Like if you're in a subdivision, you're looking at each house.
Those vehicles would come off state contract anyway, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
I looked at Wilson County. I think they're like $42,000 a piece. Yeah. So I looked at. Any questions? Yes.
To be fair, I didn't ask you, I know you came into the office late, always losing voices, anybody in the office, you know, with the raise last year and we all raised.
The only ones that did is the one that my chief deputy, my office manager, my reappraisal coordinator. Right.
So, Mr. Tucker?
So when you first started on the assessor side, did you say you had to hire a new commercial guy or you did hire me?
We did.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we have one, and you see what's going on with our county. Right now, just so you all, some of you know or might know, we're on the growth pattern of going 2% a year. That's where we're at right now. So 911 did how many new addresses? I think it was 1,300 last year. So that's 1,300 new homes that we're picking up. So there's a lot. We're doing a lot. But what we're trying to do to save money, instead of using the old tape measures, we're using lasers now to where it benefits you to where you can click and measure instead of trying to, if you're trying to measure that wall by yourself, it's a little difficult. Inside corner, nothing but your tape on. So we're doing everything we can to save with computers and everything else.
Mr. Malone, did you have your hand up?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. I think Commissioner Johnson's question has been a good one. But it sounds like those 3 salary increases were due to promotions and not necessarily just the person stayed in the same position and they got a raise in that position. They were promotions. And so you went from being the chief deputy to being the assessor. And so whoever moved into the chief deputy's position got paid the chief deputy compensation. So they weren't really raises, they were promotions.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Robert. We appreciate you being here, Steve.
You all have a blessed night.
You too. All right, our next speaker is our circuit court clerk, Brenda Downs.
Page 31.
Page 31.
34.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'll make this very quick. I know you guys must be getting very tired. Mine will be very fast. I don't have a nice PowerPoint presentation, but I'm going to ask for a little bit, just very few items. Overtime pay, asking for just a little. Court keeps going over. We've had some very long trials. We were here one night till almost 9 o'clock, almost went till Saturday. Trust me, there's not a clerk I have that would love to get out at 5 o'clock. When they find out they're here till 8, they are just absolutely miserable. And I know they're not sitting there just working as hard as they did at 8 a.m. They're just sitting there on 7, but they are on the clock. It's part of it. It's very little bit. I do have a little bit left right now, but what I have to give in comp is just not going to cover it. So I'm just asking for a little bit next year. Let's hope maybe I don't even need it. My maintenance agreements, believe it or not, that has went down. It shows an increase, but compared to like a 9% increase last year, it's really not that much. Our software company is called Tensis, which is local government. I had one of our IT whizzes in our office help me break some things down, and we cut some corners on some things. We just don't think we need them to need maintenance. So we're trying to cut corners there. The copiers went up a little bit, but that's just life, guys. Copier companies, it's just, it is what it is. I can't really do anything about that. Our recording system in the courtrooms, it's the first time that's went up in 4 years. We're talking, a couple $100, nothing major. The really big thing that went up in rentals, and we're only talking like $2,300. No, I'm sorry, not even that. It's about $1,900 increase. Our Pitney Bowes machine came over on Noah's Ark, I think, and it is obsolete. So we got this mass email that if you own this model, or this model, it is no longer going to be in existence. So we had to get a new Pitney Bowes machine, so that lease, of course, went up. The really good news was this company is fantastic to deal with. They said that your machine's obsolete July 1. So I don't have this in my budget for 23-24. They put the machine in 3 weeks ago, so don't worry about a thing. Trained us all on it. So we'll start billing you July 1. So we have the machine, it's there. So really nothing else has went up. The judges stayed the same. So I told Mitch, you guys don't need to flip to that page. I did remember as I was walking up here, because I've been drinking water like crazy over there, the judges did ask for a Culligan thing. I think that's gonna cost $275, so that's the only thing that went up in the judges. Travel didn't go up, nothing like that.
That's page 33.
Yeah, but it's like $275, $300 for a Culligan thing back in their office. So the judges really don't ask for much. The sessions judges are just fantastic to deal with. I will piggyback a little bit on what Sarah Lawson said. The $2 last year, you guys, it helped. It helped a lot. I'm gonna hope and pray we get that again. I have so many employees that really, honest to God, if you ever get the time, I know Jim Wheeler's a prominent attorney, he sees it. Kenny Huffine has been in the courtroom. You just watch how hard circuit court or a court clerk's job is. I'm telling you, arrests are up at the sheriff department, Johnson City Police Department. Our dockets are huge. It took me 6 months to fill the vacancy at 1545. And that's thanks to you guys last year. It was 1345. I interviewed 3 people. I couldn't get the other 5 to come in for an interview because they were smart enough to ask me on the phone, what's the starting pay? So anyway, they come in and I sell the benefits, guys. I did. And I believe in the benefits. Insurance is best from here all the way to Knoxville. It's better than Ballard's insurance, probably better than Eastman's insurance, probably better than if you work at a bank. Insurance is great, TCRS is fantastic. I sell it and I have them engaged. Then they say, what's the starting pay? And I say 1545. Brandon, we can't do it. Or, you know, in the interview, they call me Miss Downs, makes me seem like I'm 90. You know, I'd like to say we go to work and have feces thrown at us like the jail, but we don't. Chief, I have had. I worked over there, and that's a hard dang job. But we don't have feces thrown at us, guys, but, you know, do I want to hire somebody competent? Sure, but look up the word competent. Yes, it means adequate. Yes, it means decent. I need somebody qualified. I need somebody skilled. And we have had a rough time with a couple of clerks going into court, I'm not gonna lie. Judge Street has had 4 different clerks. They just can't keep up with it. It's hard. Now, some jobs in the clerk's office are not as hard as others. But that $2, we get it again. I give it across the board. Nobody is more important than the other. Every job in there. If you're at the window, if you're in circuit court clerk upstairs, if you're in criminal court downstairs, if you're in sessions, if you're in juvenile clerk, if you're a trooper clerk, everybody, if you're in civil court, everybody's job to me is just as hard as the other. So I am gonna ask for that again. It's not in the budget. It politely asks us just to stick with what we're increasing and not to include salaries, so I did not, but I would like that.
Yeah. Is Commissioner Wexler?
Yeah. Last year, we talked a little bit about benefits versus pay. You said that pay was really important, and that's kind of what we focused on. I don't know if there's ever a formula to lower benefits, and I know that the new folks are coming in wanting that higher dollar per hour. What's your feeling about that?
I would agree with a younger generation, yes, but the 2 that I hired within the past year, commissioners, they understood the importance of benefits. One of them was fine with 1545. And ironically, she's from Maryland. You would think someone from out of town, up north, used to being paid more. She was okay with it, but I did find somebody for 1545 in hopes that it goes to 1745. Currently, right now, 38 employees. I do not have an employee that would go, yes, give me more money. take away my benefits. I don't. But I could see in a huge department like Sheriff Sexton, that could be a case. But in ours, I think they do understand the importance of it. But when I say that the three that came in and interviewed and turned it down, only one was on like their parents' insurance. She was being paid $20.51. She worked at an eye doctor. It just amazed me that they could pay that much. But I met her at my eye doctor. I was impressed with her. And I tried to get her on, and I had her engaged so I told her to pay. But Dr. Gentry's office, by the way, if you guys ever need a good eye doctor.
We sell
$15, yeah, maybe $20 a maybe I do need to find a new eye doctor, but for me in my office, it's a good question, Commissioner Wexler. I don't think anyone would forego the benefits, because I really don't have anyone under the age. I have one person, 23 years old. He'd probably be the only one.
Right. I know that, and you even said it, our benefits, our insurance and whatnot is by far superior than most. And so there's a cost to that. And so,
There is.
And
That's why I try to sell it. I mean, and I even told this young lady, you are on your parents' insurance today, but you're not going to be in 3 years. You don't know if you're gonna be able to find a job, this good of insurance, this benefits. But a lot of them really have started engaging in the TCRS. They realize after I've been here X amount of years,
yeah.
So,
Mr. Johnson?
Same question, has any of your employees out of last year or this current year's budget? Steve getting raises or bonuses, John,
no, this current year, no. And to answer this question, because it was asked very specifically during the budget meeting last year, when people were talking about on the budget committee about $2 an hour. Commissioner Gardner and Commissioner Tucker were very adamant. Are your $2 gonna go across the board, or is this one gonna get 4 and this one 1? Even Steven across the board, everybody.
I know.
Be the same moving forward, Commissioner Johnson.
I know once this year, I know you've struggled some with the jury costs. Have you addressed those in this year's budget? I know that, food continues to go up and meals continue to go up. That's something we have to do for jury. And I know it depends on how many trials you have and how many juries you have.
Yeah.
And it's hard to look into that crystal ball and know, but.
Well, one jury panel we had Commissioner Davenport on it, and that group was excellent. Food bill was insane.
I know.
But you brought your own. Oh.
We have the top shelf.
Actually, this was the very first year as clerk, and I've been clerk going on 6 years, that I knew I was gonna run out of money at a jury, and I was afraid to pull from another line item with it being this early. So when I got with the mayor and Mitch, I had to ask for additional funding. I've never had to do that. It's very uncomfortable. I only asked for 10,000, but to pay the jurors and to feed them, I kept that extra 10 for this year, but trust me, anything that's not used, we'll give it back. I can't explain why jury trials go up or down. I know the DA's office is very progressive. They are relentless. They're trying these trials, and it's cost worthy, and it keeps the clerks here late, it keeps judges here late. I mean, it went to the point where Judge Bryce was here for 8 days. And that's 8 days of feeding. And 2 of those days were lunch and dinner. Trust me, I wanted to give them Little Caesars and Subway every day, but they weren't having it. I mean, I do try to keep the cost down. The mayor has really helped me with giving me the county visa so we can get some different restaurants. And the restaurants are good to work with. You Chick-fil-A worked with us, try to give us a little bit of break. Arboritos, which I'm not a fan, but the jurors loved it. We tried to break it up there, but.
Kind of times slow the process down a little bit.
So, and you know, we have grand jury that meets, you know, every other month, and they have to eat. That's coming up next week. We have jury trial next week. There's just a lot of trials right now. I was very fortunate in the first 4 and 5 years was giving back lots of money. But, you know, my predecessor, Karen Gwynn, said, it'll happen. You'll see. It won't happen, you know, maybe in a year or two, but I went for 6 years before I had that. Circuit court upstairs where Commissioner Wheeler practices law, when there's a civil trial, we don't have to pay for their meals. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, to your point, I've been exposed to quite a bit of you and your staff. Do a great job. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Commissioner, very much, very much. And I'll get with you after the meeting. We're working with Awesome. We're gonna get you taken care of.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Wheeler?
I'm not gonna let it go by without saying you're the only one that made it. You're the one that said it. On the.
Okay, well, thank you. So we give her $2 an hour.
That's before $2. $2 an hour. Everybody's.
That's part of her sales page.
And I am very proud that I'm not asking for any new employees. I am eager to at one point give you guys some stats on our new collections company. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a little discouraged. We're having difficulty with our onboarding sheet. It's their software, understanding our software. We're trying to pull this report that matches, that we're gonna feel comfortable with handing over the official report to the collections company. Without a doubt, these people are turned over to collections and you can start calling and getting Washington County some money. So I'm hoping that's gonna be me next year telling you what we brought in extra, above and beyond.
All right. Any more questions for staff? Seeing none, thank you so much.
All right, thank you for your.
Yes.
All right. Evan Clyburn, he's our EMA director, our interim EMA director. Hopefully soon he's our EMA.
He drew the short straw.
It's up after the ball. He's only got a 45 minutes PowerPoint that we're getting ready to load, so. Just kidding, Commissioner Tester, I'm not, yeah.
Page 54. Yeah, page 54. In half three.
So I think you guys time tonight. I'll keep it quick and brief. One small vacancy, Department of County, so I'm not requesting over the amount funds. It's about $14,000 increase from last year. It was simply due to rising utilities and costs due to rent. Notice, I am the interim director. So as with most of the public safety agencies, we're experiencing growing pains with a larger increase of people in the city and county. We're seeing a lot more influence of events, greater than 1,000 people, more planning for domestic preparedness, mitigation, hazards, planning for that has increased. So with that, I looked down, sat down and looked at our budget. I kind of came on at a time, former director left right before the budget, so I got handed to me. So I could have turned in the same thing from last year, we could have just mowed through this year, but I elected not to do it. Look at that and what can I get bang for the buck? So I looked at, I decreased some of the things that we had that were antiquated. We simply just didn't need it anymore, it wasn't needed, so I eliminated some of those, and I put in to eliminate the third full-time position, we created 3 part-time positions, which would expand the agency from 2 people with 3 people to 5 people. With the effective costs eliminated from health benefits and the time on that. That being said, there's been with influx of people in this area, there's a lot of retired people from public safety that bring a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge.
Should give you a journey for people, full-friendly, benefit greatly, expand the capability of emergency management. Again, I hope the numbers reflect it. Trying to keep costs and stuff down. There's going to be adjustments on fuel and diesel fuel, and it's simply just rising costs. With the expanse, the two paid full-time people, and the 3 part-time people. I've done an agreement with Eastern States that the spring semester we elect out an intern, which takes us from 5 to 6 personnel. So in springtime, it is our busiest time of year. The sun is coming on, allows us time to start planning and gives us another person. It doesn't cost the family anything. That's all I wanted to go over real quick with you guys and entertain any questions you have. I mean, that again, I don't want to take up a lot of your time because there's a lot more important things to be discussed in the smaller agency, but we do experience the most responsibility during times of disaster. With that, I'll open up any questions you guys may have.
It would just, I'll just comment on the CERT program. I think you're all doing a great job on that. The community reached out to people and just what an opportunity they have, learn how to be responders in their own community. And we need more of those. We appreciate you, Kat, taking the lead on that and doing a great job.
We partner with all the, just touch a little bit on the CERT program, if you guys haven't saw that. It's the community emergency response teams. Partners, that trains the public and community with some simple things on how to shut your power off, what to do during, when the tornadoes hit, that kind of thing. Because again, public safety is busy, so we can train the citizens to help better resolve and help themselves so the response gets there. That makes us that much stronger. So we partnered with all the municipalities and all the public safety, and who better to partner with than the volunteer fire departments. So we would ask them, each one of us, to host a community because they are community leaders, so they're the people that need to be teaching us to do. So we thank you guys for the opportunity to be able to do that.
Mr. Wheeler?
Quick question on your rent. You all get more space than I have. Is that tough of a go?
It's tough. It's like you go combination that you had it too easy for too long.
Rent's cheap up there. One of the things on the rent I will comment on is, the way that contract's been staggered. Well, it called for numerous raises of rent. We tried not to do that to this year. We're always flexible, always willing to work with folks. Mayor's very aware.
You ought to at least bring in a biscuit every morning for that. To bring in biscuits.
Hey, I mean, he's got new carpet, he's gonna have new air conditioner. We gotta take care of it. I mean, what great partners. There's no better partner than DMA. There's none. We appreciate it, and Kat, for all that they do for us. Thank you so much. Any more questions? Marty, do you want to hit him before you go?
I think I'm good.
Okay, then. All right, Ed, thank you very much.
I would just like to say, I'd just like to take a second to thank the commission, what you all do for the employees, for the citizens of Washington County. My budget, very little increase, very little change from last year. Bottled water, clerk fees, a little bit of travel increase, but I just want to thank you all. And I did not ask for an increase for the employees, but my employees greatly appreciated the $2 last year, and I'm sure they'll be appreciative of whatever you all can do for them this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl, it's funny, I tried to get Cheryl to talk earlier, and she said that, no, I'm not talking tonight.
Best for last.
Yeah, say the best. Is there any comments or questions or anything that we can't get too far off base? We gotta stick within our conversation in a special call meeting. So is there anything we'd like to talk about or say before we ask for a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Huffine?
just thank you to everyone, as someone that you spend more time than I wanted to on budgets. I know how hard it is, how time consuming, and I really appreciate all the effort everybody puts into it. Thank you very much.
Say, this is gonna be a long, tough budget season.
It will. All right, seeing no more comments or concerns, got a motion to adjourn. So moved. Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Huffine, second by Commissioner Wexler. All in favor of adjourn, signify by saying aye. All opposed? We're adjourned.